Hey class, today is going to be 90-3. We're going to take a look at a system of equation applications. And so we're going to solve different applications using the system of equations. Now I'm going to before we start actually into this first example, just understand that when it comes to a system of equations, there's different types of relationships that we can establish. Now, one of the more common ways of a relationship to be established is the dollar amount, so like the price times the amount. And I think this kind of like this relationship here gets overlooked a lot. And just to give an example of this, what if you go to the store and you buy 5 candy bars and each candy bar was $2 each. A lot of you are like, well, that's $10. Well, how did you know it was $10? And in your brain, because of your basic understanding of how society works and purchasing things, your brain says, oh, well, I had 5 candy bars. You multiply that by the $2 that it cost, and whammo, I have my 10 bucks. Don't overlook that type of relationship when it comes to these. And you're going to notice that that type of relationship is quite present. So in this first example, it says a local buffet charges $7.50 per person for the basic and $9.25 for the deluxe. So I have two different things that it's talking about. We have a basic buffet and we have a deluxe. Well, instead of writing basic and deluxe all the time, we can substitute those values in for variables. So I can say X is the basic and Y is the deluxe. Now if I want to use this established relationship here, right? If I want to use this established relationship, this price times amount, that means that I can establish a relationship between $7.50 per person and $9.25 per person for the deluxe. The next it says if 27 diners went out to eat and the total bill was $227 before taxes, how many chose the basic buffet and how many chose the deluxe buffet? Okay, so there's two underlying relationships that are being established. We have one right here. We have 27 diners. That means that those 27 diners, they went out and they bought either a basic or a deluxe buffet package. Now what that means is if I'm saying X is the number of basic and Y is the number of deluxe, if I add the number of basic plus the number of deluxe, that's going to total 27 meals that were purchased. Now the next relationship, it's talking about money. $227. Well, how do I get that $227? Well, that was the total of the bill. And so if that was the total of the bill, that means that I have to start creating this amount relationship that I said we need to establish here. We said the dollar amount, so $7.50 per basic buffet plus $9.25 per deluxe buffet. And I know that that's going to total $227. Now this right here, these are the system of equations that I need to establish. Now once that's been established, we can use the elimination method or the substitution method, whichever you would like, but we can use either of those methods to be able to solve and find how many basic meals were found, how many deluxe meals were found. Now I'm not going to go into how do I find X and how do I find Y, because we already talked about that, right? I'm going to focus mainly on establishing the relationships here in this lesson. Now also, what I would like you guys to do is go ahead and spend the time to solve example number 1, example number 2. There's only going to be 3 examples here. I want you guys to solve them and then either post what you got for each example in the comments, or when we come into class, we can sit there as a discussion just to double check which answers that we got, and we can use that as part of our discussion. The second example, it says at the old home, filler up and keep on a trucking cafe. Wow. The old home, filler up and keep on trucking cafe. That is a name. Mavis mixes 2 different types of coffee beans to produce a house blend. The first type costs $3 per pound. The second costs $8 per pound. How much does each type does Mavis use to make 50 pounds of a blend, which costs $6 per pound? All right, so we have 2 different types of coffee beans. We're going to say X is type 1. Yeah, because we know the name of the coffee beans. And Y is going to be type 2. So now we have to look at what type of relationships that we can establish. Well, first, it does tell us we have a total of 50 pounds. And so because we have a total of 50 pounds, that means I can say the number of type 1 pounds plus the number of type 2 pounds equals 50 pounds of total coffee. The next, remember, it's going to be that $1 times the amount. So having said that, the first type, I have $3 per pound for type 1. So 3x. Plus, and then the second, it says $8 per pound, so 8y. Now this is what's really weird, is because it doesn't give us the total amount. But we know that the cost per pound is going to be $6. So if I'm doing the cost per pound plus the cost per pound, well, this is going to equal the cost, which is $6. Now, how many pounds total do I have? Well, I have 50. So the cost per pound. Now, another way that you can look at that is you could say that this is also, like, instead of saying 50, I could say that that's the cost per pound, right? If I add my pounds of type 1 and my pounds of type 2 together. But up here we established that x plus y is 50, and so that's why I could say instead that this value right here is going to be 50. And then you can solve from there using the elimination method or the substitution method, whichever method that you see fitting, to be able to find how many pounds of type 1 that I purchased and how many pounds of type 2 that were purchased. Now, like, once again, once you find the answer, post it in the comments. That would create a good discussion. Example number 3 says Luis inherited $15,000 and invested part of it in a money market account, monkey market, right? Part of it in a municipal bond and part of it in a mutual fund. So I have 3 different types of accounts, it seems. I have my money market, municipal bond, and mutual fund. So that's 3 different accounts, which means already I can start establishing that there's going to be 3 different variables. I can say that X is the money market account, Y is going to be the bonds, and Z is going to be the mutual fund. Now, after 1 year, he received a total of $730 in simple interest from the 3 investments. So there's one relationship. The money market account paid 4%, bonds paid 5%, and the mutual fund paid 6%. Okay. There was $2,000 more invested in the mutual fund than the bonds. Find the amount that Luis invested in each category. So like I said, we have our X, Y, and Z because we know the 3 different accounts. So now the first relationship was that he inherited $15,000. So that means that if he inherited $15,000, that means if I add the dollar amount for all 3 accounts, that's going to total $15,000. The next relationship, it says that he received a total of $730. And so this is still going to be almost a similar relationship, but instead of a dollar amount times amount, well, the way that we get interest, it's the percentage times the amount. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to say that here's my 4% times the amount plus 5% times the amount plus 6% times the amount, and that equaled my $730. The last relationship, it says that $2,000 there was $2,000 more invested in the mutual fund than in the bonds. And so I need to find the amount that he invested in each category. So there's my next relationship. There was $2,000 more invested in the mutual funds than in the bonds. So that means that Z, which is going to be our mutual fund, there has to be 2,000 more in it. So 2,000 plus what I put in my in the bond. So 2,000 plus bond, and then that's going to be what I put into my mutual fund. So there's 2,000 more in my mutual fund than I had in my bond. Now here's the answer down here below, and I want you guys to go ahead and use the system of 3 variables that we talked about yesterday to be able to compute what this answer is. And if we have stuck, remember, put a star by it, comment by it, questions by it, do all those different things so that we could solve these. So in conclusion, the concepts that were discussed today, we took a look at a system of equations applications, and we examined some real-life scenarios in which you can establish a system of equations. And like I previously stated, what I want you guys to do is go ahead and take the answer that you got for example 1 and example 2 and go ahead and post them in the comments. If you do have any other questions, please leave them in the comments.